Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. My name's Natalie.
I'm Erika, and this is Drunken True Crime, bitches.
Woohoo! If you're new to our channel, we just want to throw out a few disclaimers before we get started. One, we'll be talking about some true crime cases. Some of the times we'll get into some gruesome details and really get into the nitty-gritty of the case. So if this is not something that you're into, I really would not watch this because you're not going to like this at all. The second thing is that we will be drinking each time.
Yes.
We'll choose a different cocktail each time that we do a case. So if that's going to offend you in any way, you're really not going to like this. And then the third one is we're going to be cussing a lot because that's just our nature, and we're here to be ourselves and around you guys and to talk about true crimes.
Okay, last disclaimer here, folks. The information provided by us in this video is for educational purposes. All information in this video is provided in good faith. The views expressed are our own personal opinions, and the details we provide are all alleged, and individuals are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law.
So today we are actually traveling back to Tennessee, and so we actually have, which Erika just introduced me to this drink, which I never knew about.
I couldn't even believe you didn't know what this is. We are drinking Screwball.
Yeah.
Peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know what that is, go pick some up because it is delicious.
It is so good.
So with that being said, I'm really excited about this one. This is Emma Jane Walker. So she was actually born in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I know we're going back to Knoxville. I promise this is the last one we'll do in Tennessee.
Back to Las Vegas.
Yeah. So she was born on March 20th of 2000, and she was born to Jill and Mark Walker. She was also a big sister to a younger brother named Evan. They were very, very close, and overall just a very tight-knit family. You know, Emma was always described as being, you know, a light in this world. She was very fun to be around, very goofy, energetic, happy, just, you know, your typical teenager.
You know what I've noticed?
What?
The last couple cases we have covered, everyone's like, they're the light of this world. They are so sweet and brighten everyone. Like, just brighten every room. You know what I notice? When you do that, you die.
So don't be that person.
Don't fucking brighten any room.
We're safe. We're good. We're
safe.
not going to die.
No one's ever going to say that about me.
Oh my God. Okay. So she was a very good student. So she was an honor roll student. She actually volunteered at her local animal shelter. So she was very much in love with animals. Actually, when she grew up, she wanted to be either a vet or a NICU nurse. Emma was actually a gymnast when she was little, and for those of you that don't know, Eric and I were as well. As a lot of gymnasts do, when she got a little bit older, she transitioned over to cheerleading. So she was actually a very successful cheerleader, having that gymnastics background. She was actually the only freshman to make the varsity cheerleading squad her freshman years. So in 2014, she was actually cheering at her high school football game, and this is where the star wide receiver caught her eye. This is William Riley Gall. He went by Riley, so that's what we're going to call him moving forward. So Riley overall was described as a jokester. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a really good student as well. He was a star athlete, like I said. You know, a few people said he was down to earth, but had that like nerdy side to him as well. Again, it was on the football field that he first spotted Emma, this beautiful blonde cheerleader. There were a few barriers, though, to their relationship. One being that Riley had a girlfriend at the time, and two was that he was a junior and she was only a freshman. However, though, Emma and Riley's connection, you know, they just couldn't put it aside, and so Riley eventually ends up breaking up with his girlfriend to go out with Emma. Okay. And so they start dating in 2014. They quickly become like the golden couple of their high school. You know, this star football player, this really cute little cheerleader. I mean, obviously, they're going to rise to the tops of the high school ranks. So from like the outside looking in, they look like this perfect couple, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, just they've got everything going for them. They're both really good athletes. They're both really, they do very well in school. Emma's parents even said that when they first met Riley, he was extremely polite to them. Like, they almost viewed him as the boy next door. Mm-hmm. Like, they were excited that Emma had found a nice guy. At the beginning, everyone was really on board with this relationship. Mm-hmm. They were very excited for both of them. However, after they started dating for a little bit, that's when the red flags really started to pop up.
Do you know how long into the relationship?
No, so no one gives an exact time, but they just said, like, not that long after.
Okay.
So, you know,
That
in
could
high
be
school
weeks,
terms,
that could be a month.
I think it was a little bit longer. Like, I would say it's probably a few months in to the relationship, but that's just pure speculation on my part. So the first thing that Emma's parents remember thinking, like, this is weird, this is the first red flag, is that he took his ex-girlfriend to prom that spring. And he says that instead of Emma. And he says he did this because he promised his ex-girlfriend that he would earlier, and he didn't want to break that promise.
That's still weird.
I just think, I agree with Emma's parents on this. Like, I think it's weird. I don't think he's being, like, an upstanding citizen because he's, like, not breaking a promise to his ex-girlfriend. It just seems like he's deprioritizing Emma. So then the second thing that started to pop up that her friends and family were just like, I don't know about this. They start seeing a change in Emma. So she doesn't seem to be as happy. She seems to be more guarded and, like, almost in, like, a shell of her former self. And so this really sent up red flags, along with...
As it should.
Yes.
Just anyone that's in this type of relationship, this is just a disclaimer. If you're in a relationship where you feel like the person you're with is trying to, you know, make just you and him.
Yeah.
He's trying, or she trying to get you away from your friends, your family, to where they're taking, like, all of that time away.
Yeah.
And just spending it with you and making you feel less than yourself. Fucking get out of it.
Yeah, get out. Get out now. Run.
Get out.
Run.
That's red flag. So many.
Yeah, so many.
Shooting up the flares.
Yeah, seriously. So that's actually kind of what happened here, too, is that, like, Riley started to get really possessive, telling her what she could wear, what she couldn't wear, would go to her work and, like, wait outside for hours. Like, if she had to work for, like, a 6-hour shift or something, he would wait outside for 6 hours for her to get off. And so, again...
And this case hits close to home with me in particular. I was in 2 very abusive relationships, similar to what you're describing.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened over time more into the relationship. It was like they would tell me what's acceptable to wear to school or to wear out. And if I didn't follow that, there would be consequences.
Yeah. They would get really mad or, like, angry at you.
Threaten
or, like,
to break up with you.
Yeah.
Threaten, like, you're never going to get anyone better than me.
Yeah, just
so I'm going to I'm going to get pissed off, or just threats, empty threats.
Yeah. And so this is probably what was happening behind closed doors that no one saw, but they saw the reflection of that in Emma, in the sense that she was more a shell of herself.
Right.
She was not her happy-go-lucky, goofy self. And so that really sent up a red flags, not only for her parents, but for her friends as well, which just goes to show how close she was with them for them to notice this just after a few months of dating.
And that's scary. I mean, you're good friends with people, and you want them to be happy, but you know they're not happy.
Yeah. And it is hard. Like, I mean, I remember you going through those, and, like, at first, I mean, now I don't question this, but, like, at first when it was, like, in the earlier relationships, I mean, we'd still known each other for forever.
Right.
But I was like, where do we cross over that line?
Where do we have an intervention?
Yeah, like, when do we go, like, Erika, like, come on. Like, you deserve so much better than this. I remember being the outsider, like, the best friend, watching this, and you're so torn because you want to be there for them, and you don't know how to be there for them without crossing the line or making them feel...
Or making them mad.
Yeah. But
like, the fear of, like, losing the friendship and stuff. I could only imagine how you felt. But, like, what's the line, and, like, waiting until it gets to the point where it did with me and it became physical and, like...
Yeah. My younger self would have wished I would have stepped in sooner. Like, I mean, I think that's you live and you learn, but I wish I would have stepped in sooner. And
from
friends get good at hiding it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they come up with ways of hiding it. And so, watch out for that, too. You live and you learn. Now we're luckily on the other side of it, and we can talk about it. So, we digress. The next red flag was that, and I would say this is kind of a red flag, kind of not. It's kind of normal, in my opinion. But it was just a very rocky relationship. So, it was very dramatic, constantly breaking up, getting back together. And I understand that that's very, like, normal for high school.
But it's also normal for... kind of these toxic relationships too.
But I would say it's not normal for a healthy relationship, because like, me and my husband, again, we dated in high school and we've never broken up, because that was one of our biggest things. Like, if you're breaking up with me, you best believe that, like, that's it. Like, you get one shot at breaking, like, if it is that bad, break up with me. If not, come and talk to me and we'll work through it together. And so, like, to your point, I can't, like, chalk that up just to high school.
No.
Because I think it's just a sign of an unhealthy relationship. So if you've done that with your husband or your boyfriend and then you became a husband or a wife, like, more power to you. I'm glad you were able to work through it. But, like, most of the time, that's a sign of not a healthy relationship. And my guess would be, like, yours wasn't that healthy at that time. And now it probably is. So the fourth one, which this one really gets to me, is that, or the fourth red flag, is that Emma's mom saw really, really nasty messages on Emma's phone. So these came through text messages and Snapchat, and I'm actually going to talk through some of them because I wouldn't be able to do it justice if I didn't tell you the exact words that came through. Riley sends Emma, and these are just, there's tons of these, but these are just the ones that really stuck out to me. So Riley says, "I hate you. I hate everything about you. You're the biggest bitch I've ever come in contact with." Like,
in no context, is that okay?
No, never, never. So he also sent her a text that said, "I'll see your name in the obituary." Boy, you better be on the cross country team, because if that were my dad, he would be after you so fast. That's why Emma's parents, this is the big red flag. And they took action over this. They did not want them to be together anymore. And they actually took, like, Emma's phone away from her before this, or because of this, and started monitoring her text messages. Just as many of those, like, nasty text messages or Snapchats that came in, it was always followed with, "I'm so sorry, I love you." The typical narcissistic, manipulative
typical
asshole.
Power of abuse.
Yes.
You say something you don't really want, or you don't mean, then you abuse her, then you try to win her back by her expensive gifts. Say, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah, I
it's
love
good.
you.
It's good for a couple days, and then it's just the circle. It just continues, and every time it gets back to that physical or those threatening things, it gets worse and worse because he feels like he can get away with it more.
Yeah. And after this happened, they tried to keep them away, but being a teenage couple, they kept finding ways to get together. And so, like, Emma's parents were finally like, "Okay, but we're going to have some really strict rules on you." So when Riley was over at the house, they had to be in a common area, and one of her parents had to be there.
Good for them.
Right. And so they actually caught Riley in Emma's bedroom quite a few times. He would sneak in. And so they actually put cameras up in their house to monitor these teenagers. Like, these parents took, this case makes me
all the necessary precautions.
Yes, they saw the red flags. They tried to take precautions. Like, and as we go through it, you'll see even more and more. And I ache for these parents because they really did try everything here. Like I said, after Emma's parents saw these, like, nasty messages, Emma's parents started monitoring her text messages very carefully. Being a teenage couple, they found a workaround around this.
Right.
And Riley actually got Emma an iPod Touch, and they were able to communicate through that. Teenagers and their, like, savviness. So all of this is in 2014 when they start dating. The red flags start coming up. So fast forward to 2016, and this has just been, a few years of just this up and down roller coaster of emotions, relationship, constantly breaking up and getting back together. And
hard.
I know, and Emma's parents would, like, really, really dislike Riley at this point.
As they should.
Yeah, and they're becoming extremely, like, more weary of him and just really, really hoping that they break up. But again, the more you tell them they can't be around each other, the more they're gonna, like,
try to
find a way to get to each other. And so they were trying to, like, walk that line. And so then in spring of 2016, Riley graduates from high school. He moves to Maryville, and he actually starts playing on their football team. So he goes to Maryville College and starts playing on their football team. And so Emma's parents are very excited about this because he's moving to a different city. They're no longer going to the same school anymore. So they're just not going to be around each other as much.
Is that an hour from Knoxville?
Yeah, so it's only 30 minutes.
Okay.
That's the thing. Emma's parents were really excited about this distance. But again, it was only 30 minutes away, so it was a very easy car ride.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't keep them apart all the time, but at least they weren't going to the same school. And they had to, it was a little bit of a distance, much more than what they had before. So they were optimistic about this and thinking maybe the distance apart will make Emma realize she deserves so much better than this, and then they would just kind of fizzle out.
Right.
Unfortunately, though, this didn't happen, and they continued their relationship. Then in October of 2016, it actually got so bad that Emma's parents were fed up, and they're like, "Riley's no longer allowed in our house." He was completely banned from their house. And there was an incident that happened that caused this.
I was about to ask, like, what happened?
Yeah, but it wasn't disclosed, and even in the court documents, they didn't disclose what had happened. So that was at the beginning of October. And then on October 30th, Emma actually gets in trouble with the police, and
Girl.
Yeah. So on October 30th, Emma's parents get a call from the police, and they're like, hey, we have your daughter. She's out past curfew. Because in Tennessee, if you're that age, you can't be out past midnight without a parent. And so Emma obviously is in a lot of trouble. But then...
My parents wouldn't answer.
Rightfully so, Emma's parents are very upset, and they then later find out that she was actually out with Riley.
Oh, God.
So Emma told her parents that she was spending the night at a friend's house, which technically she was, but then she snuck out of her friend's house, and...
Did the friend know?
That I wasn't clear, but I'm sure the friend knew. I'm sure the friend knew.
Right.
Like, snuck out of her friend's house and went and met up with Riley. I feel like when I was a teenager, like, this is how, like, I, like, lied to my parents. I did the half-truths, like, Mom and Dad, cover your ears if you're watching this. But I remember, which my mom knows this story, but Erika, do you remember that time that I told my parents that I was with you, but I was with David, who's now my husband, but this is in high school, and I told my parents that I was with you. Maybe I didn't even tell you that I told my parents that I was with you.
Probably didn't even tell me.
But I was with David, and my mom calls me, and she's like, let me talk to Erika. And I was like, I was like, oh shit. And I was like, Mom, she's in the bathroom. Because
she's shitting.
And
Mom.
yeah, I was like, because
she's got the runs.
That's believable. And my mom was like, Natalie Ryan. So, like, when you get middle named in my family, like, not good. And she was like, let me talk to Erika. So then my only line of defense was, you don't want to be that mom. And she's like, you have 5 minutes to get home. And I was like, oh, shit.
Wait, how'd she know?
I don't know. Mom's intuition. I have
Did she
no
call
idea.
Tammy?
I still haven't my mom would never do that. I have no idea to this day how my mom knew, but she did. Oh my God. I have never driven home so fast. Like, if I got pulled over by the police officer, I would have been like, take me in. I don't want to go home. It's way better to go to jail than go home right now. Anyways, though, after the incident with the police, Emma's parents, like, lay down the law. They're not having it anymore, and they get really strict. So she is completely grounded. She's only allowed to go either to school or to her work, because she did have a job at this time. They took her cell phone away. They would allow her to have it at certain times, but they monitored it the entire time she was using it. So they really, really did lay down the law, which they should, though.
I mean, they should, but as a teenager, it sucks.
Yeah. And this was basically their last-ditch effort to break up this relationship.
Right.
After a while, though, this punishment started to work. Like, she started becoming more like herself. She was starting to become that old Emma, where she was like happy and goofy again, and her parents got like really excited about it. She was hanging out with them and like participating in family stuff, because at the beginning she was just so mad and locked herself in the room, which right, teenager, like, and so they were really starting to see a change, and they were so hopeful and happy about this. So Emma even told her friends at this point that she was going to break up with Riley for good. But because of his history and the toxic relationship they had, she said she needed to do it over time, because she knew he was gonna, to your point, be very manipulative and threaten to kill himself. And so she wanted to ease into this breakup over time, so it wouldn't be such an ordeal.
And good for her for like trying to prepare herself for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you know she was ready to be done with this relationship.
And she was wiser than her years to actually realize that too. Yeah. That she needed to kind of prepare and do it in small doses.
Yeah.
So that she doesn't succumb to the manipulation that she knows was about to happen.
All of this is starting to happen between, October and November. She's getting back to her normal self, and, everything's starting to look up. But then the week of November 13th, this is when things just start to get weird. On November 13th, Emma breaks up with Riley, like, for good. So then, the very next day, on November 14th, Riley threatens to commit suicide.
As they always do.
Yeah, and so, Emma's not playing into it. She's going to hold her ground. She's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm tired of getting in trouble with my parents. This is not the person I am. Like, I just want to be over this. Mm-hmm. On November 15th, Riley steals his grandfather's gun. And Riley just denied it the entire time. When his grandfather brought it up to him, when his mom brought it up to him, just denied it. That was at the beginning of the week. Mm-hmm. So then on Friday, November 18th, Emma's parents again had started to see a turn in their daughter. She was being happy and like participating in family events and like watching TV with them at night. And so she had asked if she could, get like a reprieve from the grounding,
yeah.
and go to her friend's sleepover after the football game. And it was actually the playoff game.
Oh, okay.
So they had won, and so everyone was really excited, and her friend was having a sleepover afterwards. So her parents were like, yes, like she's starting to build our trust back again, like we'll let her have this. Emma goes over to her friend's house, and then later that night around like 11:30, she starts getting these like really weird and I would say scary texts if I would have gotten these. So we're actually going to read these off, and I'm going to be the unknown, and again, these text messages were from an unknown number. So I'm going to be the unknown number that's texting Emma, and then Erika's going to be Emma. So go to your car with your keys. Go alone.
Who is this?
What part of alone wasn't clear?
Yeah, I'm not, because I don't know who this is. LOL.
I don't want to hurt a loved one.
What?
I've got someone you love. If you don't comply, I will hurt them. If you tell anyone about this, I'll hurt them still.
Show me. LOL.
No pictures. Stop playing around and do as I say. Drive to the bottom of the driveway. If you don't by 11:50, I will hurt them. Bring no one.
I know you're one of Riley's friends, but stop.
I won't harm you. Just do as I say and you won't be hurt.
I'll just call the cops.
Have it your way.
I know you're Riley's friend. I'm not stupid. You won't hurt him.
I'm no one's friend. We have him now. You have till 11:50.
I broke up with Riley, so chill.
If you don't care about him anymore, then it shouldn't bother you. You've made your choices.
I know Riley put you up to this. LOL, I'm not dumb.
We have him currently. He hasn't put anyone up to anything. If you're okay with him getting hurt, that's your choice.
I'm blocking you. This is bullshit.
We fucking nailed that. Cheers to that.
Wow, we should be actresses?
Yes. So after this, Emma stops responding, but there are multiple text messages that continue to come through from this unknown caller. But again, she's not having it. She just ignores them. But eventually they say that Riley's in the ditch outside of the house that she's in. So Emma's like obviously freaked out at this point.
Right.
She grabs a group of friends and she goes outside, and they see a man in the ditch. And so this man like pulls his head up and like starts like holding his head, and they realize it's Riley. So he like wakes up like is holding his head as if he's just coming back from like consciousness, or just coming back to consciousness. And Emma's like,
really?
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Right.
Like, no. Like, she doesn't believe it for a second. Like, he plays off like, you know, he got kidnapped and he was hit over the head and he's been unconscious and they threw him in this ditch.
Crazy you look.
Emma's like, no. Like, I know this isn't true. Starts screaming at him, and he still adamantly is like, no, no, no. Like, this is it. And she was like, get out of here.
Right.
And so he eventually calls his friend Noah and tells him what happened and asks Noah to come pick him up. Now, I watched interviews with Noah, and Noah was like, I didn't believe him for a second. It's just weird.
It's a next level of manipulation, and it's disgusting.
Yeah. She's obviously like rattled, but she goes back into the house and she spends the night. Like, the girl's parents of like who was having the party, her parents were home, and so like she felt safe, so she spent the night there. And then she went home early the next morning. So she's actually at her house getting ready because she's supposed to meet her mom that morning to help her with something. And so she's home alone, and she all of a sudden hears this like banging, like bad banging on the door. And she was like, what in the world? Right. So she's already freaked out from the night before with all this with
As
Riley.
she should be.
And then she like peeks out the door, and it's just this guy like dressed in complete black, can't see who it is, who's just like banging on the door. So she's like, nope, like dips out and was like, I'm not answering this. And then she's like texting her friends, like freaking out. And then she goes back to like her comfort zone and she texts Riley. Spoiler alert, it was Riley at the door. So unbeknownst to Emma, it was Riley at the door doing this banging. So when she texts him to come protect her, he runs away, ditches his clothes where he parked his car just down the road at her pool, like her local pool, ditches his clothes and texts her. I was like, okay, I'll be there in just a second. Like, I'm racing, like I'll be there, and shows up and, you know,
Did you
saves the day.
teleport there, bitch?
Anyone on the outside looking in knew it was Riley, but also police have confirmed that it was Riley through different avenues. So, okay, so now this person at the door, again, Emma doesn't realize that this was Riley. This really freaks her out.
Right,
so much
as
to
it
the
should.
Yeah, so much to the point that the next day, this is now Sunday, she's supposed to go to work, and she's so freaked out that, and her parents are freaked out too because they don't know it was Riley either. They follow her to work. So her mom actually, on her way to work, her mom follows her and make sure she gets there safe. And then her mom comes home. And then her dad goes and picks her up from work and follows her just to make sure, because they don't know what's going on after the kidnapping, after this. They just want to be extra safe.
Right.
Again, they're doing all the right things. And so they get back home, and Emma goes and does her homework, and then she comes out of her room, like says goodnight to her parents, and then goes to bed. Late that night, early the next morning, really, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Emma's dad is like startled awake by this loud sound, and he believes that it's a door like slamming. So he goes in and was like, what the heck, especially after all these things that happened with Emma, between the kidnapping and the man banging at the door. So he was like, let me go check on my children. So he goes and looks in both of their rooms, and they both seem to be sound asleep. So doesn't think much of it, checks the doors, goes back to bed, doesn't think much of it. So then that morning, her mom had gotten up and gotten ready for work, and she went to go wake up Emma at 6:15. And so she like peeks her head in the door and was like, hey, Emma, get up. And Emma's normally very easy to get up. She's a morning person. And so when she didn't, Emma's mom goes in and like starts to like shake her a little bit to like get her up, like, hey, Emma, get up. It's time to get ready for school. And that's when she realized something was wrong. And she felt that Emma was cold. And so she starts freaking out a little bit, screams. Her brother comes in, and then they both realize like they can't find a pulse. So she calls 911, and this 911 tape is just so excruciating to sit through because of how sad it is. Emma's mom calls 911, and the police show up pretty quickly. And at first, they're treating this as a and because it's not like there's not a lot of blood everywhere, like you don't see anything. It just seems like she died in her sleep.
What did they think she did? Take pills?
Yeah, something like that. Like they just didn't know yet, and so they were waiting for a toxicology. They hadn't moved the body yet, so they start like surveilling the outside, just the crime scene overall. So a detective goes outside and sees 2 holes that go from the outside that go directly into her bedroom, and they soon find out that this is bullet holes from where someone shot into her bedroom. And then once they start analyzing the body, they realize that Emma was shot to death. So the police start their investigation really, really quick. They start interviewing her parents, they start interviewing her friends, and what do you know? One name keeps coming up.
Riley.
And so the police bring Riley in for questioning. And I watched the interview tapes. Yeah. And I think the thing that stands out to me, and that is so weird, is that he never says Emma's name. He says the girl or that girl. Like refers to her as a girl. Distancing himself. Yeah. Like it's so weird. Like the first, there's 10,000 red flags, but like for the police, this is like a big red flag.
Distancing. That's typical.
Yeah. And for someone who this is the love of his life, and he just lost the love of his life, and they even like at one point were like, what girl? The girl that died. Like still would not say her name.
Her name is Emma.
And like this went on for hours, and he did not say her name. So again, this is like really red flag, and then that's when police really get into their investigation.
These cases make me so angry.
Yeah. So then police start like zeroing in on Riley because it's obvious, and they get all this evidence, and it doesn't take long for them to realize like this is our number one suspect.
Right.
But then Riley's friends go to police, and they were like, Riley showed us a gun. And so they were like, okay, and they concoct this like undercover operation with these
I remember
teenagers.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this.
Yeah, and they actually they like set it up to where his friends go and meet Riley, and they put a camera on their key fob. So these friends...
How scared shitless did they have to be though?
Yeah. So these two actually do a really great job. And Riley basically like confesses on this and says, hey guys, I have to get rid of this gun. Like, help me get rid of it. And his friends are like, dude, like, why don't you just take it to the police? We don't understand. If you don't have anything to do with this, just take it to the police.
Just take it to the police.
Still, yes, trying to get him to turn over. And he was like, no, like, I just have to get rid of it. They get in the car to go throw this gun and another bag that had all the black clothes that he was wearing when he was banging on her door. Like, so much evidence.
Fucking idiot.
The police, like, catch him before he throws anything in, and they collect this evidence. So, to no surprise, Riley's arrested. So in May of 2018, Riley actually goes on trial. And his biggest defense was that he didn't mean to kill her. He just wanted to scare her, which I will say, at first I was like, okay. But then there are 2 bullet holes. If you're just going to scare her, maybe just one and not anywhere near her bed. Maybe. But there were 2, and they were directly where her head would be.
I mean,
if she was
both of
sleeping.
them were directly where her head would be. Okay, let's go down the rabbit hole. If you were expecting her to get scared by the warning shot, what were you planning on doing?
Being her hero again would be my guess. That's the closest he's gotten to Emma in weeks. So there was a lot of evidence against Riley, obviously, and then he does eventually, after just 5 hours of deliberation, a jury does find him guilty.
As they should.
Yeah, they find him guilty of first-degree murder, stalking, and then reckless endangerment, and being in possession of a firearm. So he just got the gamut of all of these things. And so actually in the state of Tennessee, if you get charged with a first degree murder, if you get convicted of first degree murder, then it's an automatic life sentence. Even though he didn't speak during the trial, he did speak during the sentencing, and he had a message for the Walker family, which I'm about to read and put up here. He said, "I'm so sorry I took Emma away from you, that I robbed you of the experience of watching your daughter grow up. What I can do is tell the truth about that night. I wanted to scare her. I never meant to take Emma's life. Again, I am sorry." Now, over the years, he would try to appeal, and he will continue to try to appeal. It's just overall a very sad case. I feel like, I mean, it's sad when anyone dies, but especially when a younger person dies. I feel like they didn't even really get a chance to live. That's just not fair. I mean, she wanted to be like a NICU nurse. They did. In the local children's hospital in Knoxville, they do have a room in the NICU that is dedicated to Emma. And so, like, the whole community just pulled together, and they do honor her in so many different ways, because this is just such a tragic story where teenagers just...
This is definitely a cautionary tale.
Yeah, not being able to control their emotions, and not saying that that's an excuse by any means for what he did, but... I mean, your brain isn't fully developed at this point like that. I feel like this one, it just pains me because, again, I come from a high school relationship. Right. Luckily, like, I'm very thankful that mine was not like this at all, and I ended up marrying the dude. But, like, it's just so sad that she didn't get a similar experience that I did, and it just really, it sticks with me. Like, this one sticks with me.
Right.
But, whew! With that being said... Be a bitch and stay alive. Cheers.
I fired 2 warning shots into his head.
What nasty shit is in the Tennessee road?
Tumultuous.
So, we digress. People are going to hate on us for that, but... Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's a cobweb in my thing. Maybe I cut that
out.
But
it is. I have no words.
Really, bro? Call me next time. Fuck my life. It was little.
When she was little?
Little?
Tumultuous.
No, tumultuous. Alright, you got something on your tooth.
We should film after work all the time.
I did a really good job there, Erika. I'm just saying. Tumultuous.
No, I don't think
tumultuous.
It's
a tumultuous relationship. It might not be.